Imagine it's 1971, and you're sitting in your living room watching the evening news in the United States. The president, Richard Nixon, appears on screen and calmly announces something that sounds technical, almost boring. He says the dollar will no longer be tied to gold. To most people, this means nothing. There are no protests, no panic, no headlines screaming collapse. But in that moment, something fundamental changes forever. Because until that day, money wasn't just paper. It was a promise backed by something real, something limited like gold. After that day, money became something else entirely. It became flexible. At first, nothing feels different. Your salary still arrives, prices still look normal, and the system continues to function exactly as before. But behind the scenes, a new power has been unlocked. Governments can now create money without needing more gold. And they do, quietly, gradually, consistently. A few years later, you walk into a grocery store and notice prices are a little higher than before. Not enough to alarm you, just enough to feel slightly uncomfortable. Maybe it's temporary. Maybe it's supply issues. Maybe it's just how things are. This is how inflation begins, not as a shock, but as a slow drift. Here's the trick most people never notice. Inflation is not just rising prices. It's the declining value of money. And governments have learned that if they manage it slowly enough, most people won't react. If everything suddenly became 5 times more expensive overnight, people would panic. But if prices rise gradually, year after year, people adapt. They complain, but they adjust. They keep working, spending, and saving, and that's exactly what keeps the system stable. This process is often explained through the idea of monetary expansion, but in reality, it behaves like a hidden tax. When new money is created, it doesn't impact everyone equally. The first to receive it, banks, corporations, and governments, get to spend it before prices rise. This is known as the Cantillon effect. By the time that money reaches ordinary people, prices have already increased. Salaries may rise, but they rarely keep up fully. Over time, this creates a strange feeling. You're earning more than ever, yet somehow falling behind. Now fast forward to today. You may be working harder than ever, earning more than previous generations, yet buying a house feels out of reach. Saving money feels ineffective, and financial stability feels distant. This isn't random, it's structural. Inflation doesn't destroy wealth evenly, it redistributes it. It moves value away from savers towards asset owners, from the middle class towards those closest to money creation. Over the past decades, this pattern has become increasingly visible. Assets like real estate, stocks, and commodities have surged in value, while wages have grown much more slowly. This creates a widening gap. Most people believe that saving money is the path to safety, but in an inflation-driven system, holding cash quietly guarantees a loss over time, not instantly, but steadily. History shows us how this can escalate. During the Weimar hyperinflation, people saw their life savings become worthless in a matter of weeks. More recently, countries like Argentina and Venezuela have experienced similar patterns. While not every country reaches that extreme, the underlying mechanism remains the same, just slower, more controlled, and less visible. Governments rarely say outright that they are reducing purchasing power. Instead, they use softer terms like stimulus, liquidity support, or economic stability. And to be fair, these tools can be necessary during crises, but over time, their side effects accumulate, and those effects are not evenly shared across society. Those who understand this system don't fight it, they adapt to it. Instead of holding cash, they move into assets. Instead of saving in currency, they invest in things that benefit from inflation, like real estate, businesses, or commodities. Because when money loses value, real assets tend to retain or increase theirs. This is one of the reasons why the wealthy often become wealthier during inflation, not necessarily because they are smarter, but because they are positioned differently. The real insight is this: the trick governments use isn't deception in the obvious sense, it's design, a system that functions best when most people don't fully understand it. If everyone suddenly changed their behavior, stopped saving cash and moved entirely into assets, the system itself would become unstable, so inflation is maintained at a level that feels manageable, noticeable but not alarming. Over time, people begin to accept rising prices, expensive housing, and increasing cost of living as normal. What once felt unreasonable slowly becomes part of everyday life. And that's what makes inflation so powerful. It doesn't need to shock you, it just needs to gradually reshape your expectations. Understanding this doesn't require wealth, only awareness. Because once you see how inflation truly works, you stop thinking of money as something to store and start seeing it as something to use strategically. You begin asking better questions. Is my money losing value? Where is it safest? What actually holds value over time? Am I participating in the system or being quietly eroded by it? In the end, inflation is not just an economic concept. It is a silent force, one that operates slowly, consistently, and often invisible. Like every powerful system, it rewards those who understand it and ignores those who don't. The truth is, governments don't need to hide inflation. They just need to make sure you never feel it all at once. And that is the real trick.